Well, my friends to the south of the border, happy U.S. Birthday Day, aka 4th of July, Independence Day, Will Smith versus the Aliens Day. Hope you're having a good time celebrating and whatnot. Well, I did a film for Canada Day, so I figure I'd do a film for U.S. Independence Day. So here we are, Uncle Sam from 1996. Boy, was this something. Um, yeah, so let's get into it, and well, I'll give you the good and the bad and the bad. So, spoiler alert, you know the drill. Gonna be talking about the movie, gonna be exploring points of the movie, telling you basically the whole story, including the ending. You have been warned. If you do not want spoilers, do not watch this part of the video. You can skip ahead to the timestamp where it says rating or thoughts or whatever I put that it says, to skip the full synopsis. But anyway, let us begin. So we got a scene on, I believe it's supposed to be in Kuwait or Iraq or something, something Gulf War related. This came out in '96, so, you know, all that was happening in the world. We've got a downed helicopter with a bunch of burnt corpses in it and a cleanup crew coming and finding out that it's friendly fire, apparently, which, you know, it does happen. It's unfortunate, but, I mean, no one wants to be the one to cause friendly fire or the one to die from it, but unfortunately it does happen, and that's what happened here. Anyway, one of the soldiers is, well, he looks clearly burnt to a husk essentially, but he comes to life and he ends up shooting all the soldiers that go to clean him up. Cut to the intro credits with a bunch of I don't know the name of that song, but that you know, that one, and then all these like pictures of like Independence Day parades and like really like the cheesy aspect of the patrioticness of you know, Independence Day celebrate. Well, I shouldn't say cheesy. I'm sure it's fun. Like, I don't know. We do the same thing in Canada for Canada Day, I'm sure, so I shouldn't say that. Anyway, shots of that, you know, the Uncle Sam on stilts and, you know, the red, white, and blue balloons and parades and all that kind of stuff. Anyway. Then we cut to, there's a young boy in his room by the name of Jody. He's basically our main character, our protagonist of the story. So Jody wakes up and he has a picture of his Uncle Sam. See what they did there? Well, his uncle's name is Sam, so it's not just like, you know, I mean, it's totally tongue-in-cheek. I can't say it's not tongue-in-cheek, but anyway, his uncle's legitimate name is Sam. So anyway, Sam Harper, he, I guess is this kid's hero for whatever reason. He's really gung-ho about joining the military and super pumped to, you know, go do his part on the field and put in his patriotic duty and all that kind of stuff because of his uncle. Well, something happens and the picture falls and breaks on the ground and the kid steps on it and gets a piece of glass in his foot and goes and wakes up his mom, who basically says like, okay, well, good job, cleans it up and tells him to get the hell to bed because she's tired. Fair. Anyway, we cut to another woman by the name of, what was her name? Was it Louise? Louise is Sam's wife, or ex-wife, I guess, at this point. But he's been missing, MIA, for like 3 years or something like that. I think they said 3 years or 4 years or something like that. And she's basically essentially moved on, kind of. So she's dating this like sheriff guy, who's kind of a little bit of a tool, I guess. Doesn't really matter that much. Anyway, he drops her off and he's like trying to get more than a kiss, and she's like, nah, I don't think so, dude. She gets home and this major or general or colonel or whatever comes up to her house and says, yeah, so we finally found Sam's body. She's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, shit. All right. She has her little cry and all that. Next morning, basically, so Lori, is it Lori? Oh my god, I wrote these names down. Louise! Oh my god, I'm horrible. Louise and Sally have like a little morning chat and they talk about, oh crap, they found his body and all that, and they're bringing the body home and all that shenanigans. They're gonna have a funeral. The colonel or whoever, or major or whoever came and delivered the news, said that he's within his rights to be buried in like the I apologize to anyone who's American and watching this. My knowledge of U.S. customs and that is not very good, but the commemorative burial plot, is it like the National Memorial or the National... I'm not sure what it's called, I apologize. Anyway, he is entitled to go into that, and she says, no, we have a plot with his parents that we're going to do, and he's like, okay, well, I mean, just letting you know. He's considered a hero, essentially, so, Cool. Anyway, Jody overhears this. That's unfortunate. Poor kid. I mean, he looked up to his uncle a lot due to, I guess, the military service and stuff, but he said that he was like nice to him all the time or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, cut to the wake, I guess it is, or whatever. Or no, sorry, before the wake, Jody tries to go downstairs to open up the casket to put some of his uncle's medals in there. So he has a little ammo box with his uncle's medals and whatnot. He's got like a purple heart and like all kinds of crazy stuff. So he wants to go and put them in the casket, that's fair. That's totally fair. Anyway, casket's locked. It has like one of those like twisty lock. I don't know. It's like ones you can find on a guitar case. That's the only thing I can compare it to. Like the twisty key lock things that you twist and then fold down and it's locked in place. Then you twist them up and that to open. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyway, there's multiple of those, and I guess the kid doesn't know. He undoes one that he sees under. He like lifts the flag because there's a flag draped over it, as you do for, well, in any country really, a soldier would usually have a flag over their casket. But it's a closed casket for a reason. So yeah, finds out eventually that like he's not looking his best. It's his Sunday best. So whatever. Anyway. Next day we got the wake, and there's this one dude, Ralph, who's talking about the whole controversy of the Gulf War or whatever, like the 90s Gulf War, which I don't know a heck of a lot about, but I know that there was definitely controversy about it. There's another scene too where Jody's in school and he announces in class that his uncle's dead, and he tells his teacher, like, I brought all his medals if you want to see it. The teacher is kind of like, what do I do? Well, obviously the kid's grieving, so sure, show me these medals. He's like, yeah, very supportive and nice. Like, yeah, show me his medals, whatever. Then one of the kids asks him, were you ever in the army? And he says, no. And the kid's like, why not? And he explains, basically, he's a draft dodger from Vietnam, essentially. And so Jody's like, yeah, my uncle said you guys were cowards. And he's like, I didn't say that. My uncle said that. But clearly he said that. Using his uncle's quote to express his thoughts of the subject. Anyway, whatever. Doesn't matter. Neither here or there. That's just a little short scene or whatever. We're introduced to another character at the wake, though, by the name of Jed. He's, I think is he a corporal? Or something? I can't remember. I'm so sorry. He's a corporal, I think. And he lost one of his legs. He's got like a prosthetic leg, and he's paying his respects. He feels really guilty about Sam getting killed. He was like one of the last survivors of the only survivor, I should say, of his squad or something. So he feels like guilty that he got to come home and all his fellow soldiers did not, or whatever. Which, I'm sure a lot of soldiers in that situation have that same feeling at one point or another. Anyway, he kind of not really bonds, but well, yeah, he does kind of bond with Jody a bit. Jody's asking about his leg, and he shows him and knocking on it, and it's like solid and whatnot. I think it's like plastic, or like maybe it's like metal coated in plastic. I'm not sure. Anyway, shows Jody this, and Jody's all like, "Oh, cool, soldiers are awesome, etc. You're a hero. Everyone's a hero." And he's like, "There are no heroes. There's literally like." They throw us into the field to get shot at, and if we somehow live, they send us home and put a ribbon on us. There's no heroes. And Jody's obviously like, okay, well, I absolutely want to join the army when I grow up, or the Marines, or the Air Force, or the Navy, or something. And Jed's like, kid, get that shit out of your head. Basically, like, look what it did to me. Look what it did to your uncle. Like, it's not... I'm not saying I believe him or I'm on one side or another. I'm just explaining what the characters say. But anyway, he expresses his concern of, you know, because of what he's experienced and what he's seen and all that. And he finally sighs, like, yeah, I'm not going to change your mind, are you? And Jody's like, okay, cool. Anyway, yeah, he goes back in the house and he catches this, I think it's Ralph is the character's name, saying basically that these soldiers died for nothing. It's all just like keeping like some Arab dictator rich or something like that. I don't know. But Jody hears that and he's like, why don't you shut up? Which is hilarious, kind of. His mom immediately sends him to his room. You're grounded. He's like, all right, shit. Wait, but what about... No, you're grounded. Like, okay, so... movie starts, like, initially on July 1st. So, happy Canada Day. And this is, at this point, it's the day before Independence Day. So, July 3rd, whatever. Basically, she's saying, yeah, you're grounded and you're not going to the parade and the event and all this fun stuff. And, you know, no cotton candy and jugglers and whatever the hell you have down there. Anyway. So, he's a little choked about that. Cut to the nighttime, we see him writing a little note, basically to his uncle, I believe, saying, you know, all these people that are disrespectful to states, like, you give them what they deserve, or something along those lines. I don't think he was, like, deliberately trying to summon his uncle or whatever, but I think he's just sort of writing out his frustrations. Anyway, he ends up summoning his uncle, essentially, who wakes up in the casket and heads out. So that's fun. Then we cut to a scene of this Uncle Sam looking guy on stilts outside some girl's window, watching through the window as she's in a towel. And of course, there's a nice little shot of her bum as the towel falls and she screams, and you perv, and he's a peeping Tom. And obviously he like takes off and almost gets hit by a car. And he's wandering through forest and someone's following him. He's like, who the hell is that? Who is that? And anyway, he trips and falls on the ground, and it's Sam, like the real Uncle Sam, not the stilt Uncle Sam, who has hedge clippers and kills this guy with hedge clippers and then decides to take his Uncle Sam uniform for whatever reason. I guess he saw the irony in his own name, so he figured, may as well play it up, right? Already a dead soldier, let's go all out in patrioticness, right? Because, I mean, he's killing people for America, right? These are people who are not supporting the cause of the army and whatnot, or something like that. I don't know if that's the message they're trying to throw, but that's the impression it gives off. Anyway, he goes on a killing spree basically during the 4th of July thing. So we've got this... Oh, there's another scene that's still at night where these kids are like desecrating his open grave that he's going to be buried in. They're like throwing cans in it, and they're burning an American flag right in the cemetery. Like, that's brilliant, right? They paint like a swastika on a grave. Like, what the hell is wrong with these kids? I mean, I was a stupid kid too, but you don't desecrate a graveyard. Like, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, that happens anyway, so. Any kind of movie like this, you know what happens if you desecrate a grave. You know, it ain't ending well for you, kid. So, anyway. One kid's... Or they're about to take off, and one kid's like, yeah, I gotta go take a leak or whatever, and he goes and pees, and ends up dying. Yeah, he's killed. How is he killed again? Is he beheaded? I can't remember. Anyway, he's killed. And then the other two, as they're walking out, are like, yeah, I don't know where Buddy is. He's taking too long. One's like, yeah, I gotta go home. And the other one's like, okay, I'll stay behind and I'll go back and get him, and, you know, have a good night, whatever. Uncle Sam kills that kid too, so he nooses him and hangs him up, like raising the flag, but it's raising the noose guy, so hangs him. That kid's dead, so that's good times. Then we have the big event, and we have Ralph is playing, I think it's Ralph. I can't remember if that's his name. That's the one guy I didn't write down because I didn't think he'd be a main character, but anyway. He's dressed up as Abe Lincoln, and he's talking kind of shit a little bit about whatever the hell he's talking about. Again, he's a character I didn't think would be important or consequential, but he ends up dying, so it is important, I guess. The mayor has a congressman coming over to do like a speech or something, but first There's a kid who wants to sing the national anthem, and I'm pretty sure it's the one kid who survived the graveyard debauchery. I think. I could absolutely be wrong, but I'm assuming that that's him because he's just a deliberate asshole for no reason. And I mean, those kids were deliberate assholes for no reason. So he goes up and he starts singing the Star Spangled Banner, and he starts off like really giving into it, and then he turns it into like a screaming like guttural metal type thing, and he like squeaks sometimes, and he's like deliberately trying to sing it awful to stir the pot. Gets booed. They throw him off the stage, and the mayor quickly recovers. Like, okay, well, I think we can do better than that as a group. And then the whole group starts singing the anthem, and it's like way the hell better. Well, it's amateur as hell, but it's better than a kid trying to deliberately butcher it. Anyway, there's a sack race, and this kid's in the sack race, and he's just deliberately being a piece of shit. He's bumping people and knocking them over in their sacks, and like knocks one down and then like deliberately jumps on him to hurt him. And then anyway, he ends up falling down a hill, I guess, because he just, you know, karma, right? Karma's a bitch, as what the hell's her name, Jojo Siwa would say. No, I know she took that song from someone else, I just can't think of it. Anyway, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a stupid comment anyway. Ignore the fact that I even said that. Karma's a bitch, as I would say. There we go. Falls down the hill, lo and behold, gets up, dusts himself off. There's Uncle Sam, full patriotic Uncle Sam, you know, character getup. It's like, hey man, nice costume. Can you help me find my way back to the place or whatever? No. He can't do that, because what he did was he took a cleaver from the barbecue girl who was doing the ribs or whatever, and ends up cutting this kid's head off with the cleaver. So, wonderful. Throws his head down. That's the end of that. We find out that Ralph, aka Abe Lincoln, has been shot in the head. Whether or not that was Uncle Sam who did that, I don't know. I assume it was. Yeah, I don't know. So there's another death. The mayor at this point is like, okay, yeah, we've had, you know, a couple deaths here, because they found the kid's body with his head missing, and they see Abe Lincoln dead, and he's like, you know, there's a couple deaths and that, but there's no reason to leave. Meanwhile, what? You don't want to upset the kids, right? Oh yeah, that's fair, I guess, you know, because it could have just as easily been one of their parents, but you know, that's fine. You gotta let the kids, you know, get their cotton candy and see fireworks, right? Whatever. Anyway, that happens, and he announces, okay, well now we're gonna have that speech for the congressman before the fireworks, and lo and behold, his aide comes up to him and he's like, yeah, we went to the limo and they said they can't find the congressman. They reveal the fireworks display, and there's the congressman tied up with a bunch of fireworks in him, and he has like an American flag or something down in his throat. I'm assuming it's an American flag. I don't know what else it would be, right? But yeah, fireworks are all impaled in him, and they start going off and flying every which way, and finally, boom, they explode, and there goes the congressman. He's fucking dead too, I guess. So that's cool. The sheriff that was trying to hit on Louise or Sally or whoever it was gets thrown back by the explosion, and he falls down and gets impaled on an American flag by Uncle Sam, so he's dead too. Basically just killing all these people. There's another kid who is like a victim of a firework accident, who Uncle Sam at one point had like touched the side of his head all creepy, like, it's like, yeah, you know, I can make everyone here feel your pain. And the kid's like, who the hell is that? And his parents are like, oh, the Uncle Sam guy? Yeah, he looks cool, right? Okay. Anyway, this kid and Jody are apparently friends, and he ends up telling Jody, like, that's your uncle, dude. And he's like, what? Big reveal. Anyway, they end up getting the hell out of there because the fireworks thing was just like not kosher. And so Jed ends up taking them back to Jody's house, and they enter the house, and his mom comes out with a knife because she's freaking out, and Jed's like, okay, do you have a phone? I'm going to call the cops. She's like, yeah, it's in the kitchen. So naturally they leave him in the kitchen. Their kitchen has like a door between like the living, it's not like an open door. Okay, so this is going to be a stupid question, but I'm genuinely curious because I haven't really been in any American households. So in Canada, we don't really do indoor doors except for like bedrooms and bathrooms. In the States, do you have doors to like your kitchen and like non-private rooms? Because that seemed weird to me, but I mean, maybe that's a thing. I mean, Americans wear shoes in the house, so that always I thought was strange too. And yeah, I don't know. Anyway. They also use some kind of like archaic measurement system. I don't know what it is. They talk about like feet and stuff. Okay, I'm just being an idiot now. Anyway, not meaning to offend any Americans. I'm just being a stupid dummy. So back to the film. Anyway, Jed starts making the call, and lo and behold, there's Sam. He finally has the Uncle Sam mask off to show his gross burned face, and he's like, remember me, blah, 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 blah. Ends up throwing him through the wall. To everyone's dismay, Jed. What is Jed takes off? Jed ends up trying to shoot him, or not Jed. What's her name? Shit. Louise has Jed's gun because he gave it to her for protection when he came into the house, and he starts shooting at him. It does absolutely nothing. He's undead. Like what? Not even going for the headshot. You know, if he is a zombie, that's what you do. But I don't know if he's a zombie, but whatever. I guess he's more like a Draugr, maybe? Because he seems a little bit more conscious than a zombie. So we'll say he's a Draugr. Whatever. Anyway, gun does nothing. One of the kids says, go get the cannon! Because they have like an old-timey Civil War cannon that they were going to fire off at the, 4th of July thing. So Jed leaves everyone while this guy is here and goes and drives off to get this cannon and drives it back and sets it outside the door. Anyway, at this point, Uncle Sam is talking to Jody, saying essentially like, Jody, you saw, I don't think he says you summoned me or whatever, but Jody eventually says like, I wanted to be just like you. And he's like, oh yeah, well, to do that you'd have to be dead. Are you volunteering? So, at this point, Jody's playing up like he wants to, do whatever it takes to make his uncle proud or something like that. So he's got his uncle convinced. He grabs him by the hand and says, listen, let's go outside and let's show us together so that they know I'm not afraid and I want them to see us together and whatnot. And so Sam's like, hell yeah. Right on. You know what? You're all right, kid. He doesn't say that, but you know what I mean. Anyway, they walk outside and they open the door and Jed's got the cannon and the little firework burn kid is like, just light the fuse. He's like, I can't. When Jody's right there and he's like, he'll move. Don't worry. Light the fuse. Lights the fuse. Boom. Jody gets out of the way, jumps out, cannon fires, hits, explodes. Boom. Yay, we got him. Hooray. But, of course, he never dies the first time, so he walks out. He's all on fire now. And he's walking towards Jody, who's on the ground and, like, struggling to, like, crawl away. Because that's what you do in a horror movie when some crazy zombie demon monster thing, whatever, is trying to get you. You crawl. You don't get up and run. Anyway, Jed quickly lights the fuse again. Boom. Cannonball. Hits him dead in the chest this time, sends him flying to the house, and the whole house explodes, and everyone's super happy. Even though that's like Jody and his mom's house that is now exploded, so that's good. Hopefully they had insurance for cannons, like Civil War cannons. Highly unlikely, but anyway, that's that. And then they cut to a scene of... The movie's over at this point, basically. So they cut to a scene of Jody burning all of his plastic figurines in a garbage can in his backyard, standing there, getting all the good fumes, as his mother watches, as a good parent does. And then there's like a brief, like, dramatic music change, and they cut to the kid's face, and the kid has like a little smirk growing. And then they fade out, and then there's some like poem about the Gulf War or the whatever war being sent and stuff, and I don't know. So I guess, are we led to believe that Sam possessed Jody, or is Jody smiling because it's over, but then the music makes you think, oh, is Jody gonna be the next Sam? Like, I don't know. It was revealed too, but the thing that made Jody turn on Sam as his mom and his aunt finally basically told him, like, yeah, he was not a good guy. He abused us physically and in ways that we don't want to say. So I'm assuming that implies sexually, I'm going to assume, because the girl that was his sister was like, yeah, things I couldn't even tell Dad, but I knew were wrong or something like that. It's like, okay, ew. So definitely not a hero, and Jody finally snapped out and he's like, oh my god, I'm sorry that happened to you. Anyway, then all that other stuff happened and he made him think that he was that, and they got exploded by the cannon, etc. at the end. So the only thing I can think of with that ending is either they did it deliberately, so you're like, wait, or they like, or his spirit possessed Jody somehow, because Jody obviously wouldn't want to be that kind of a person based on the kid's character. I'm looking too deep into a movie like this. So let's cut to the chase. My thoughts on this film. Well, it's silly. It's silly. It tries, I guess. I've seen worse films. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, this was infinitely better than Beaster Day. This is more enjoyable than Carnosaur. Yeah. I'd say it's better than the Giant Gila Monster, just because that movie was honestly, like, even as a movie of its time, keeping that into account, was kind of boring. Yet I think movies like Cold Hearts and Lucky Bastard and that kind of a thing were slightly better than this. So that's fun. The acting, let's get into this. Let's go through the basics here. So the acting was average, nothing to write home about. It wasn't like a disaster. There were some... It wasn't perfect. I'll be as nice as I can. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't even good in some areas. But for the most part, considering the kind of movie it is, it's passable, whatever. I don't even remember the score other than them singing the Star Spangled Banner and then like that intro music with the credits. So I can't comment on the music, really. If there was any, I guess it was okay. Like the ending scene music, I remember, just because it was so dramatically different from everything like half a second before it. I don't know, I guess it was alright, probably. Cinematography was okay. It was very, very basic. Like, they knew what they were doing, but they weren't pros by any means. It seemed like the script itself was, I don't know. There weren't any lines that, like, made me say, oh my god, what the hell was that? That's so stupid. But there were no... it wasn't exactly always realistic, conversational. Oh, man. I don't know. Let me try to think of the positives of this movie, first of all. An Uncle Sam going around killing people. I mean, they figured out probably the smartest way to make that work in as serious of a way that they possibly could. Why did this soldier dress in an Uncle Sam costume from one of his victims? I don't know. Maybe it was to blend in at the parade carnival event thing on July the 4th. I don't know. I'm going to assume that's what it was, because other than that, it makes absolutely no sense. Yeah, it has to be that. You know, I'm being stupid. Of course it was that, because he's not going to walk around with a burnt face, right? So, okay, that's what that was. That's fine. But, like, that's... How else can you get a killer in an Uncle Sam costume, right? That's how. The tongue-in-cheekness of him being named Sam and him being an uncle, and then dressing up as the character of Uncle Sam, that's kind of borderline clever, I guess. Yeah. Kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel here for good things to say. Like I said, it was... It's only an hour and a half, too, so that... It's like an hour and 26 minutes, or it's 28 minutes, or something like that. So honestly, I'm not, like, choked that I watched it or anything. I don't think I'll ever watch it again. I don't really have any need to. But again, it's not as bad as some of the other things I've watched, but yeah. That's my thoughts. what am I gonna rate it? Let's get into that and get this over with. Oh man, well, like I said, better than Beasterday and Carnosaur, better than Gila Monster. Not as good as Lucky Bastard, I don't think, or Cold Hearts. And I think those were in the mid 4s. And I think Gila Monster was the high 3s. So based on that, I'm going to give this a 4. Just a flat-ass, basic-ass 4. I don't think it deserves any more or less than that, in all honesty, because putting effort into thinking of a decimal place is more than a movie like this is worth taking time thinking about. I've already spent more time on this than I probably should have, but yeah, should you watch it? Nah, don't bother, honestly. Even if it's on TV, I would just watch a rerun of The Simpsons or something. Like, I don't know. It's not very good. Anyway, that's all I got. Take it for what it is. Happy Independence Day to my USian friends. Hope it's better than this movie for you. All right, take her easy. Bye.